our meeting to order, if you would. Actually, we'll get public hearing first, don't we? Yeah, so we have a public hearing. We have two public hearings, actually. A public hearing on a request to rezone a parcel located at 310 South Anderson Street from general commercial to neighborhood commercial C3. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to that public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. The second one is a public hearing on a request to rezone a parcel located at 0 Kings Lane from high-density residential R3 to general commercial C2. Is there anyone here to speak to that public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. If you would, please stand, and we'll have our invocation with Tim McGee.
Y'all join me as we pray. Father God, we acknowledge that this beautiful day is by way of your hand, and we thank you for it. It was a spring-like day, and we enjoyed the sunshine and the good weather, but regardless of whatever the weather is, we still acknowledge you as God and the giver of all seasons, the giver of rain and sunshine and snow and ice or whatever it may be. We pray, Father, that we have honored you today with our deeds and with our activities and even our words and actions. We pray that we'll continue to honor you tonight through this meeting, and we pray for discernment, wisdom for our leaders of this fair city, and we pray that you will help them to make the right decisions and have the knowledge that they need to have at certain times. And we thank you for life and the very essence of life. Be with those that are tonight suffering, those that are sick, those that are going through the valley of the shadow of death, those that are in any kind of need. And we pray that your grace will be sufficient for them as well as us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a roll call. Everyone's here except Alderman Mathis, and so we have 6 present. Commendations and certificates. We have a couple certificates for our honorary aldermen. We have 2 this evening. Ms. Lindsay Evie and Mr. Chris Blow. So if y'all will join me up here, we'll get you these and get a photo. Ms. Lindsay is the fearless leader of the Mayor's Council to get a title. I don't care what your title, like mayor or president. You're the mayor. That's right. Got it. If you don't mind, go ahead and say a few words about yourselves.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lindsay Evie. I'm a senior at Tullahoma High School, and I'm involved in Mayor's Youth Council. Like he said, I'm the mayor. I came for what looks to be a very long meeting looking at the agenda, so I'm happy for that. I'm also involved in the National Honor Society. I'm in band, all of those wonderful things, and I'm a trivia host for work. So I do a lot of things. I'm around Tullahoma a lot, and, you know, it's nice to see you guys. Everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you. Chris?
Hello, I'm Chris Guo, and I'm honored to serve as the honorary alderman today, this Monday evening. I'm the treasurer of Mayor's Youth Council. I'm currently a sophomore at Tullahoma High School. I go around and do activities like FBLA, DECA. I'm in the swimming team and math team as well. I also work for my family restaurant and read in my free time. And thank you for having me here for honorary alderman today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, comments from citizens. So I think we got a list here. Those of you that signed in, Greer Stevenson, did I get that right? Yes, sir. Just come on up to the podium if you don't mind, give your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Evening, my name is Greer Stevenson. My address is 201 Settlers Trace, Tullahoma.
Go ahead.
I'm here to speak on the Arnold Heritage Center that's supposed to be built over on Wagner Park.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen. I'm Greer Stevenson, local Tullahoma resident. If I may, I'd like to say a little bit about myself. First and foremost, I'm a husband and father of 5. I volunteer at Tullahoma Soccer Association soccer coach. I've done that since 2022. Frank Mullins football coach. I've done this since 2023. Tullahoma Gymnastics and Cheer team dad. I recently took on that honor. Currently serve as a Frank Mullins youth football and cheerleading board. I served the United States Air Force for 24 years. After retirement, I took a contracting job, uprooting my family and myself, moving to Sicily, Italy, as a part of an Air Force Reconnaissance Squadron working with RQ-4s. In August of 2021, I relocated to Tullahoma to take a job at Arnold Air Force Base, where I currently work. All of this to say, I've been a part of the United States Air Force since 1993. I have no qualms or disdains against the Air Force, the military, or this country. I just personally feel that relocating the Cal Ripken baseball, Frank Mullins youth football, and cheerleading fields to an alternate location would be a detriment to the children who participate in this program. I have some background, some things that have been done. Since 2023, over $1 million has been invested in the new sports lighting and field upgrades. Cal Ripken Baseball contributed $10,000 to field improvements, other information. Frank Mullins Youth Football and Cheerleading has a special partnership with the Tullahoma High School. High school players work at the Wagner Field concession stand and officiate games throughout the season. This creates a wonderful opportunity for the younger athletes to interact with these local heroes they admire from the stands during high school games. The kids truly enjoy the encouragement and positive influence these players provide. In closing, for years, Wagner Field has been more than just a patch of grass. It's been the cornerstone of youth football, youth baseball community, a place where children have learned teamwork, sportsmanship, built friendships, and discovered the thrill of competition. A familiar sight where the goalposts, backstops, outfields, the echo of cheers, the smell of freshly cut grass, these are woven into the fabric of the countless young athletes. Moving these cherished fields to an alternate location sends a message, however unintended,
Go ahead.
that these memories, these experiences are disposable. It risks undermining the sense and stability of belonging that the children have come accustomed to with these sports communities. The establishment of a new facility, while potentially offering updated amenities, cannot replicate the years of shared history embedded in our current fields. The abrupt uprooting could leave a lasting negative impression. The sense of loss and disregard for the significance of these fields hold for our children. Furthermore, the decision reflects on the broader military community. Our commitment to the well-being of service members and the families and AEDC is paramount. Uprooting a beloved community hub, particularly without demonstrating significant benefits, risks signaling a lack of sensitivity to the emotional ties and stability Tullahoma families seek and deserve. We urge a thoughtful reconsideration of this decision, prioritizing the preservation of our children's memories and the message we send to those same children. Let us explore alternates that honor Arnold Air Force Base and its contribution not only to Tullahoma, but to the deployed warfighter and the world as a whole. By doing so, we can signal our dedication to the past while building the future, ensuring our children continue to feel valued and supported within our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mark Moran.
It'll be hard following that. Mark Moran, 208 Safley Drive. I'm here to talk also about the Wagner Park. I am an advocate of recreational activities for the youth of this town. I think it is extremely important in the development of these young people into the adults who will soon become youth, our leaders. And I just think it's extremely important for us to provide what we can. I've been involved in football, baseball, wrestling, a few other things, but I spent 25 years involved with the Mullins Youth Football League, 8 years involved in the Tullahoma Little League, and approximately 30 years involved with the youth wrestling program in town. Wagner Park is important to this community for what you see out there. Baseball, football, dog park, you name it. It provides opportunities for over 500 children annually in the football program, and close to that number also in the baseball program. It's extremely important. I just feel like that in making a decision regarding these facilities, the impact it's going to have on the kids of this town should be first and foremost in your thought process. It hurts me to think we'd even consider displacing children or something. I'm not opposed to the center. I just think there's probably better places it could be located without disrupting long-established programs in town. I just hope that y'all will take into consideration the impact that you could potentially have on the children of this town in making any decisions regarding this center. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Lisa Beasley.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address you. I'm Lisa Mullins Beasley. I'm the oldest daughter of Frank Mullins, and I'm a lifelong citizen of Tullahoma, as was my father and his parents before him, and my mother as well. I've been asked to speak on behalf of the Wagner Park initiative that has been proposed. My father, the late Frank Mullins, along with a few other friends and citizens here in Tullahoma, and with the support of the city, back in 1967 organized the Frank Mullins Youth Football League. At that time, it was organized under the Pop Warner Football Organization and operated under those guidelines for about 15 years. Prior to my father's death in 1986, the league was renamed in his honor and is currently known as the Frank Mullins Youth Football League. Thanks to the leadership and guidance of many men, women, and children, some of which are in this room right now, and through the support of our city, the league has continued to evolve, grow, and flourish, and today is bigger and stronger than ever. The league currently provides football and cheerleading opportunities for more than 500 boys and girls from Tullahoma, not just from Tullahoma, but also from the surrounding communities. We have teams that come in from Lynchburg, Winchester, and Manchester that participate and play in our league at different times. The legacy and example of the league the league has created has also been used as a guidepost for those surrounding communities that wanted to create leagues of their own. And so they have used the format that we set forward to guide themselves and guide their communities to form those leagues in their areas as well. And for many years, we all participated together. As Mr. Moran said, and I echo those sentiments, I'm not opposed to the facility. I appreciate the efforts toward improvement and advancement in the city. But for the past couple of weeks, the proposal study has been tossed around. You've heard a lot of echoes and sentiments from the community. And the biggest question is, why Wagner Park? Why would we want to uproot an established facility that is a great system for our children and a great asset for our community in order to facilitate such a great idea when there are other properties that are available? It's been made clear that the facility will be called the Arnold Heritage and Innovation Center, and that one of the reasons that they wanted to look at the Wagner Park area was because it was close to or adjacent to the Arnold facility. If it's going to be an Arnold facility, which again, I don't oppose the facility itself, look at all the thousands of acres that are on Arnold property right now. Why not put it over there instead of uprooting established property? This property that we're talking about is currently home to 4 football fields, 1 baseball field, a picnic pavilion, 2 concession stands, 2 playgrounds, and a restroom facility that is currently open to the public at no charge. The property is currently maintained by the City Parks and Recreation Department, and the city has just made, as Mr. Moran and Mr. Stevenson pointed out, the city has just made a huge investment into the development and improvement of those properties to make this a safer and more appropriate field and area for our children to participate in. At the current time, the fields, just the football fields alone, the football fields are currently used 3 to 5 months out of the year, from July to November, 4 to 5 nights per week by the Youth Football League. But during that same time, the field is also used by the middle school football team, which, by the way, my dad founded as well. During that same time, the youth football teams use those fields at night because of the lighting facilities that are available when the weather is too hot for them to participate during the day and to practice during the day, so they come over to the football fields. The fields are also used by the soccer leagues. I think, Mr. Stevenson, you can attest to that. The fields are also used by the soccer leagues for overflow games and practices as well. And these are all provided, in the evening, and some of the fields are also used in the evening for practices, even though there are other facilities in town that are used for practices for the Youth Football League, because all of the coaches and all of the folks that help with the Youth Football League, both cheerleading and football, are all volunteers. They're not paid. So a lot of these folks have regular jobs that they don't get off until 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and so they use those fields at night for practices so that they can practice under the lights. If the Arnold team wants this land so badly that it is willing to fight state and federal legal battles that would have to be fought to overcome the historical state and federal grants that protect the Wagner property just to have the property so that it is close to Arnold Center, why not use the Arnold Center property? And also, before the project could even be built, you're looking at a cost of $3.5 to $4 million to the city to replace those fields and facilities for our children, which have become, those fields and those leagues that would be displaced are a legacy to our town. The Youth Football League is a feeder program to the middle school program. The middle school program is in turn then a feeder program to the high school program, and it's obvious that all of those programs have been very successful over the year. Not only the Youth Football League, but also the Little League fields as well. These properties and these leagues not only provide those feeder programs to the upper classmen, but they also provide tax dollars to the city of Tullahoma. We currently have Little League baseball tournaments that come into Tullahoma, and the Youth Football League. Like I said, we bring in folks from other communities as well. Those folks come into town, they eat at our restaurants, they buy gas at our grocery stores, they stop on the way to the ball field and pick up snacks. They're providing income to the city as well. So this would be a disadvantage to the city. Also, as a taxpayer, it concerns me that right off the bat, with no clear sign of exactly what this new facility could provide for the city, they've already said that they want the city to absorb a $300,000 to $400,000 shortfall per year to run the facility, to operate the facility. I think as a taxpayer from Tullahoma, I think that those tax dollars could be used in a lot better ways to provide a lot better services that would be a lot more instrumental to our community. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and I plead with you on behalf of our children and the leagues and on behalf of the taxpayers of Tullahoma to please consider wisely how you decide on this matter. Again, I'm not opposed to the new facility. I'm not opposed to the innovation and to the advancement of facilities like this in Tullahoma, but I think that there are other options that should be looked at and could be looked at before we look at taking Wagner Park. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And then Travis Moore.
Good evening. My name is Travis Moore, 205 Woodson Drive. 205 Woodson Drive. I want to start off the same thing. I'm not opposed to any kind. I'm here to talk about Wagner as well. I'm not opposed to the center coming. I think the base has done wonderful things for this town. But it's also done wonderful things for Manchester, for Lynchburg, for Murfreesboro. You know, there's a lot of places around here that this has really been a part of Arnold's, right? So picking Tullahoma and taking away a facility where kids, I was one of those Frank Mullins players back in the day. I remember when we used to have 5 softball fields out there, I believe, JB, was there? Three big softball fields worth put on tournaments, that there was thousands of people here to play softball. I had my big Bubba bat, and J.C. Moore was out there umpiring games. So I can go all the way back to those memories. So when you think about, I can speak more on the. I've never been on the Frank Mullins board, but I have been on the Little League board, and now it is Cal Ripken. And a lot of time and effort has been put into that new field out there, that Wagner through. We put lights on it. We've redone the infield. The grass looks beautiful if you have not driven by it right now. There's been a lot of work done, and we thank the Recreation Department for doing that. But I'm also in the travel ball world right now as well. So not only is these fields being used during the week for our kids, I'm telling you, when we go to these facilities, Tullahoma, that Johnson Lane out there and that Wagner Fields, we could have people here every weekend having tournaments that bring in money, just like an Arnold Center could for Wagner. So, like I said, I'm not opposed to it. I just think there's better avenues or better places to put it. I agree with Ms. Beasley that there's 44,000 acres out there. Why are we looking at a little bitty spot in Tullahoma, Tennessee, or asking for a little spot? And I think if they're asking for a $300,000 or $400,000 fall from the city every year, I think that $300,000 or $400,000 could go back to our kids in our community and our families that need green space. I work in schools, and kids need to be out. Kids need to get out, and they need to have green spaces to be able to play in. And if we keep building concrete structures on our green spaces, then that's going to be tough to replace, and we can't really replace that back. There's only so much land. So I appreciate your time, and thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, sir. I think that's the end of the people registered to sign up for public comments. We appreciate those comments, and we'll move on to the next item. Yes, sir.
I signed in late. I'm sorry. I didn't show up until.
What would you like to speak about?
The same issue, sir. And,
Come ahead.
And I'm not going to beat it.
Come ahead. Yeah.
Dead here. We're going to be very quick. So I'm not opposed to.
Sir, give me your name and address before we start.
My name is Charles Brian Rogers. My address is 301 Albemarle Drive, Tullahoma, Tennessee. I'm not opposed to anything, particularly in growth in the community. But I follow Mr. Moran. He asked me, Jeff Stroop, and Chad Grimes to lead the Frank Mullins initiative, and we did that. And you're talking about, I mean, when we started it, we didn't even have flag football. Now we've initiated flag football. So the biggest growing portion of our business, and it is, I mean, it's, okay, a nonprofit business, but is women flag football. It is amazing how these young girls go out there, and the young men that their parents don't feel that tackle football is for them. So it grew so fast, we had to take over all 3 fields because we wanted to promote safety, because a lot of people don't feel football is safe. But at the same time, it is a very popular sport. And so with flag football, we have referees, and guess who? Everybody that works there in the Frank Mullins on a Saturday morning is high school athletes, okay, or high school students. They come down, we pay them a fair wage. I run the concession stand. I like to call it concession stand number 1, all right? And so we have a flat grill. I teach them how to grill, all right? I teach them how to sell. And we also, there are referees. So it's high school students that get a fair wage. That, I mean, we literally, I bet there's 1,500 people on a Saturday there. I mean, we fill that place up. And our biggest problem is bathrooms. I mean, just to be honest about it, my wife comes to me every Saturday because my daughter's a cheerleader. My son played in it. I was a coach in rec league soccer. That was a big problem. Now I understand we got that issue filled. But bathrooms over there, you know, that's probably our biggest problem. And other than that, I mean, guys, we use that facility. We're training young men to try to be better men. We're training young girls. Everyone that teaches our cheerleaders is a teenager. My daughter looks up to Madeline Bobo like nobody's business. And every time she comes home from school, she's like, is Madeline around? Because she was her mentor. So that's all I want to say is that it's an important area for me. And also there's a run club that I was a part of that's there, and it's still going. And it was with the military. But they meet up at 6:30 in the morning. I did it for 10 years until I got what I call is plantar. I call it fajitas. I had the chicken, beef, and seafood because I couldn't put on dress shoes for like 2 weeks. So now I walk 5 miles. No, and I go do it on the Greenway. I know the park systems like the back of my hand. Not as well as Mr. Glick, but it's tremendous. The everything about it is done very, very, very well, and it's safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, reports from Aldermen. I'll start over here with Mr. Bush.
I don't have a report this time. I had the opportunity to meet with the CPDC members and the new planning director, and we had a really good meeting regarding the 2045 plan. And I think we made more progress in that meeting than we have in a while, and hopefully there'll be those plans will come together soon for the Planning Commission and the board to vote on, because that's an important part that we need to enact. In our meeting, we also discovered that, and I've already talking to Mr. Quick about it, and he's working on it, that our GIS license is we don't know how to get into it, and we've got to track that down because it's a pretty expensive license and very useful to the city. And our new planning director is certified in how to use that and everything, so that'll be very useful for the city. So, and on a personal note, I will say that 40 years ago this month, I started working for the city of Tullahoma. So, and started part-time out on the grounds crew for the Parks and Rec Department. I've been here with the city ever since. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Laura McGee.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much to report on. I was able to attend the TML Legislative Conference in Nashville with Mr. Quick and Alderman Byrd, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I learned a lot during that conference. Also, I traveled last Thursday. I traveled to Cookeville to watch the Tullahoma High School boys basketball team, and they won the regionals. So they have another game tonight that I will be attending also just to cheer them on. Also, I would like to commend and to give kudos to our Tullahoma Police Department, our rescue squad, and our fire department for their response time to the hospital on Friday. It was amazing. Thank you all so very much. And also, I would like to ask everyone to just remember Alderman Mathis in your thoughts and prayers during his time of recovery. And that's all.
Alderman Wilson.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to give an update about the TEC recycling roundup that we had on March 1st, Saturday, March 1st, and it was a huge success. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend because I had to work, but there was a total of 24,779 pounds of materials recycled on that day. I won't go through the whole list of the sheer amount of what we collected, but there were a few things that there were 141 participating households, 8.6 pounds of ink cartridges were taken in, 7,100 pounds of tires, 3,500 1,600 pounds of clothing and shoes, 900 pounds of paper shredding, 1,620 pounds of mattresses, as well as almost 9 pounds of medications and a lot of things that, especially medications, we don't want to just throw those away, right? So it seeps into the landfill. But yeah, it was a huge success, and that's nice that we were able to do that with the TEC. Also, this past Wednesday, I had the opportunity to attend the grand opening of the Revita Recovery's new facility in Tullahoma, thanks to Fancy Kilgore, who invited us to attend that day, who's the program director. The event was well attended and highly informative, providing insight into the critical services Revita offers to individuals facing opioid use disorder. During the visit, I was able to meet with the doctor and the staff. We toured the facility, and I learned about their comprehensive patient-centered approach to recovery. Revita provides tailored treatment plans that address both the mental and physical aspects of addiction, including access to licensed Suboxone doctors, substance use care coordinators, and licensed therapists. One of the key takeaways is that Revita ensures treatment is accessible by accepting most insurance plans, including TennCare, and offering financial assistance for qualifying Tennessee residents through a grant program. Their commitment to long-term recovery and community support makes this facility a valuable resource for our area, and we're lucky to have it.
Alderman Burton.
Thank you. At the TAEDC meeting, they voted on an item that will be on a future agenda. It was the approval of a $30,000 a year contract with Retail Strategies. Is that correct, Winston? Okay. That pays for itself quite quickly. They help bring a lot of new businesses to our town. Panera alone, it's estimated that we're going to make around $80,000 in taxes from that. So it pays for itself quite quickly. The Arts Council, they discussed the future Arts Council marketing brochure and also discussed an upcoming mural idea. I was able to take a tire to the recycle event. I was very happy to get rid of that. It's been at my house for years. I was able to go to the TML conference in Nashville. It was great to hear about some upcoming state legislative votes that could impact all municipalities in in Tennessee. Then I was able to tour TUA, and I encourage all the board to do that. It was incredible to see the effort that goes into keeping our lights on and our water running. And also a really big thank you to Jeff and Chase at the wastewater treatment facility. I think that's one of those jobs that probably gets ignored, but if we didn't have them, we'd be in a lot of trouble. And then I was able to attend a Short Springs Nature Area Work Day. One group was helping put up a new fence. I helped the group haul trash out of the woods. It was hundreds of pounds of garbage that came out of the woods. So it's good to know that that isn't still sitting in an area that I like to hike in. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't have a lot for the mayor's report. I also attended the Tennessee Municipal League Legislative Conference, and I'd just say you wouldn't think you could be entertained by hearing a speaker from the comptroller of the state of Tennessee. You wouldn't think that'd be exciting, but if that's the case, you don't know Jason Mumpower, who is our state controller, and I've known him for years, and he's always entertaining, which is amazing for somebody whose job is to be the money cop, as his predecessor used to say. So anyway, appreciated being able to go to that. City Administrator.
Do you remember what he ended the conversation or the presentation with?
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's always better for you to call the comptroller than the comptroller to call you.
Yes.
So I think everybody who shook their head definitely agreed with that. Just a few things. Last week we had a meeting with Cheryl Morgan regarding our insurance. We're self-insured, as you know. Looking at our claims volume, looking at it trending and those types of things. Very happy to report that basically we're about level where we were last year, which is good. If you see rising healthcare costs, that means that our claims and all that have really gone down. We don't expect any kind of rate increase. But Cheryl Morgan did talk about the wellness program that we initiated some time ago, and I just want to thank Lori and Carrie, and as well as our Parks and Rec staff for all they do to support that. We continue to work with our employees on wellness and trying to create those habits that's going to help not only keep them healthy, but also help lower our costs. We will be having one additional meeting with them to look at our prescriptions, our costs, and different ways that we could look at reducing our exposure on those things as well. So look forward to that. The TML meeting was great. I do have to say, I really enjoyed the ride up and the ride back. You get to know people, and so spending time with Alderman Byrd and Alderman McGee, it was just good just get to know each other better, and I really enjoyed that. A few paving updates. The asphalt plants, as soon as we said they're up and running, they broke today, went down, but we do expect William Northern to be completely paved and open early next week. The striping, we believe, should be done by the end of this week, but if not early next week. We're also going to begin milling on several streets on the east side and down West Lincoln Street. So that project is something that's been on our list for quite some time, so we're looking forward to do that. So from West Lincoln, Jackson Street down to Cedar Lane. One of the other considerations we have is removal of the traffic light, which is on the corner of Eddy Street and West Lincoln, which is basically the corner of the bank building and West Lincoln Street. That light has become very obsolete. We have found that in looking at, I guess, traffic studies and other things that TUA has observed, that light really doesn't come into play that often when it comes to traffic flow. And then we looked at if we were to replace that, should that light ever go down, we're looking at a $50,000, $60,000 cost. So we're going to be looking at removing that light. A note that's going to be coming out tomorrow, I received a call from Clint Carpenter today with TDOT. Since spring break is next week with Tullahoma City Schools, they are going to close down Wilson Avenue at Big Springs. They've identified some work that they believe they could go ahead and get a jump on, and by closing that down for the week, that might decrease the amount of time that it will be closed during the summertime. So they feel really confident with that. We have reached out to Tullahoma Baseball. They have a camp next Monday and Tuesday. They're aware of it, said there's no problem. So they'll be closing that right at where you would turn into Grider. The Tullahoma Fire Department roofing job that was approved some time ago was completed earlier this month. We had a meeting, Winston and I had a meeting with representatives with Beacon Properties and the 900-unit PUD that is known as Summerlin that was brought to us about a year ago. That's going to be cranking back up as far as time to move forward. So I know Winston's working very hard on the TIF and some other things to get them ready to bring to the TAEDC board and then subsequently to you and then on to Coffee County. Two last things. If you happen to go into a department head's office and you happen to see a yellow bus, I hope you'll ask them about it. We just completed about a 9-month book study on a book called The Energy Bus by John Gordon, and it talks about positivity in the workplace, talks about being aware of the influence and impact you have on others as far as being energetic and whatnot, and it seemed to be very popular with our department heads. So hope you'll if you see that, you'll ask them, tell them to tell you more about that. Last thing, Margie Hankins has been with Tullahoma City for over 35 years, and she was over the maintenance of all of our buildings. She and her crew have done an outstanding job keeping the buildings up and going. She finally decided it was time to retire. So she had a retirement ceremony last Friday, very well attended, and we are very happy in her retirement, although we've seen her how many times? 3 times so far since her retirement. It was 2 Fridays ago, by the way. But we just wish her the best. She's done a great job serving us, and if you happen to see Margie out and about, I hope you'll take the time to say thank you. That's my report.
Thank you.
I had a question. Are they going to put a signal on the William Northern Cedar Lane intersection?
Great question. So the signal is going to be in conjunction with TUA. We have had conversations with TUA. That sign has been ordered. It goes straight to an engineer. It's our understanding that engineer's working on it. We will go ahead and open up William Northern without the traffic light to begin with, which is similar to what it is now, but that traffic light is going to take probably about this time next year before it gets installed. But it is on the agenda.
I have a comment, question. Mr. Quick, would you like to update the people here and out in TV land on the Arnold Heritage Center and the Wagner Park site?
I'm not sure. I hear your question. I don't know if there's really anything to update. I know, as we have seen tonight, there's been a lot of comments and thoughts by the citizens.
I'll make a comment on it.
Yeah.
So, we brought that forward on the agenda, and I was responsible for bringing it to the agenda because we've been discussing this for a long time. And we were looking for feedback, and we got feedback. I'm going to make a comment that some of the, as always, many of you know, many of the comments that were going around town were not factual regarding the proposal. And I appreciate all the speakers tonight, because everybody spoke tonight, I felt like spoke factually about the situation, and I appreciate that a lot. Ms. Beverly Lee's in the audience, and she's been leading this effort for a long time, and as soon as we saw the response, it was different than the response we'd originally gotten. The other, I'm going to speak to some of y'all individually later about some of the details, just because you had questions, but I won't take time to do that tonight. But I think the current understanding is, yeah, we're looking for another location to do that. That's not as simple as it sounds, so please help us with that. And I'll leave my comments at that. All right, consent agenda. Let's move forward on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion and approval for the consent agenda? Motion from Alderman Wilson and second from Alderman Byrd. Is there any discussion on that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I had an opportunity to kind of look at this contract, which I'm sure our legal counsel has. I thought it was...
So can you clarify which contract you're speaking of?
Isn't that the one for the pyrotech show?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's more than one contract.
Yeah, I got you. I'll get to those later.
Yeah.
I think the proper thing to do is to be able to make a motion to take it off the consent agenda and put it on the first agenda.
Okay, I don't know the technicalities.
So that was going to be my question. Is that what you'd like to do?
Please.
Okay, so let's remove that.
Speak about it.
Yeah, so we'll remove that from the consent agenda, and we'll add that under at the end of new business, I suppose.
I would also like to take agenda item number 5.
Yes, I had the same thought. So 3 and 5 will remove the consent agenda, move to the end of new business. Any others? All right. No others. We'll vote on the remaining consent agenda. That passes 5. I can't count. 6 to nothing. All right. Unfinished business. We have no unfinished business. That brings us to new business. I didn't approve the agenda. I do that. How did I miss it? Oh, it's up there above the whatever. Okay, so yeah, we need to approve the agenda. Apologize for that. Can I get a motion on approval?
I'll make a motion.
Sorry. I think she's trying to let her get it up there. She's going backwards now. Probably needs to bold that for me on the agenda. All right, so we have a motion and a second on approval of the agenda. Any discussion on the agenda beyond the consent that we already had? All right, let's vote. All right. All right. You did. You did. Yeah. So 5 yes and 1 abstention on the agenda approval. Did you mean to do that? All right. New business number 9 on our agenda. Ordinance number 1644, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma, Tennessee, as set forth in the Tullahoma Municipal Code to rezone a parcel located at 310 South Anderson Street from general commercial C2 to neighborhood commercial C3 for passage on the first of 2 readings. That's okay. I was going to have while you're doing that, I was going to ask Mr. Quick, had any comments on this item?
So basically, right now, this the person that has applied, Mr. Mitchell, he has a single-family dwelling already in there listed as C2. By listing it as C3, it would allow him to keep that, but also grant him additional options on any future development of that property should, for whatever reason, he sell it or whatnot. So just this was something that was passed on the 21st of January, and our apologies for just now getting that to you.
Yeah, yeah. We discussed this in the Planning Commission as well. Any discussion on that one? Do we have a motion and a second, actually? So a motion from Alderman Byrd, second from Alderman Wilson. Any other discussion? Let's vote on that. Passes 6-0. Similar item, number 10, ordinance number 1645, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma as set forth in the Tullahoma Municipal Code to rezone a parcel located at 0 Kings Lane from high-density residential to general commercial for passage on the first of 2 readings.
This is regarding a half-acre lot that is at the corner of Kings and Oakmont. The other properties are also zoned C2. The applicant is looking to be able to build some retail-type structures on that property, which go along with those that are already there.
Yeah. All right. We have a motion from Alderman Glick, a second from Alderman McGee. Any other discussion on this one? It's passed through the Planning Commission. So, all right, let's vote. That's okay. Passes 6-0. Item number 11, resolution number 2020. A resolution by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee to update and finalize the spending plan for the American Rescue Act funds for the fiscal years 2022 through 2026 for the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee. Staff give a report on what we're doing here.
I'll start off, and if you have any additional questions, either Sue or I will seek to answer those.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me just make the motion.
Oh, sorry.
No, I need to be asking for that. Go ahead. We have a motion and a second.
So basically, this list is something that has to be, I guess, if you would, cemented or baked in. We have to report this back to the state. The funds had to be have to be spent by December 2026. We're on schedule with that. Most everything on this list has been purchased, to my understanding. We do have one outstanding item, which is a fire truck, which is currently being produced right now down in Louisiana. We hope to take possession of that sometime in first quarter of 26.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions or comments on this? That we're basically just reapproving the list that's already been approved, and a lot of it's already been expended, as I understand.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So, all right. There's no other discussion. Let's vote. Six yes. Agenda item 25-35, a request from the city administrator to appoint a qualified applicant for the Tullahoma Airport Authority Board to fill a 5-year term ending February 27th, 2030. As I understand, Dr. Daniels, his term has expired, and we appreciate his service over the years. I believe we have 2 applicants for this position on the Airport Authority. Mr. Ralph Bard, are you here, Mr. Bard? Yes, sir. Do you mind stepping up and saying a few words?
No, sir. My name is Ralph Bard, live at 307 Kings Ridge Boulevard in Tullahoma. I've been here since 1989. And I have been a big proponent of the airport ever since I've been here. I was a pilot, got my pilot's license in 1972, and have been flying in Tullahoma ever since. I've got about 4,000 hours now. I'm a commercial IFR pilot. And pretty much I've retired from everything else I did. I was a nuclear engineer in the Navy in Vietnam. I retired from that. I was a doctor for a while here in Tullahoma and retired from that. And I was a lawyer for a while, and I've retired from that. So I think that the Tullahoma Airport is one of the most significant positive assets that we have here in Tullahoma. I've always been a strong supporter of the airport. When the airport FBO, fixed base operator, stopped renting airplanes, I actually bought an airplane, brought it up to Tullahoma, and started renting it here so that we would continue to have the aviation community have access to a rental airplane. Then bought a second one and actually ran a little business for a while, Tullahoma Aviation Company, which I've actually also retired from because I've sold the airplanes to Wright Base Flight School, and I'd like to think that I had a hand in getting a flight school here in Tullahoma, which I think is another huge asset because aviation is a major part of Tullahoma, in my opinion, has been. We've got an absolutely terrific airport. We've got a wonderful FBO. We've got a great airport staff, and I would very much like to continue to support him as a member of the board.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Tom Gillick.
Tom Gillard, 103 Lamont Lane. I spoke to the board a few months ago about being on the airport committee, and I'm still interested in that, and got really nothing really to add other than I am interested, and I'm a pilot, and trying to look forward as to the opportunities that the airport might provide this community. So, thank you very much.
So I guess on this one, we're going to vote with paper slip. So hopefully you got some paper slips in front of you. Your name and the gentleman you're voting for. I guess it helps if I use the pen. It works.
Alderman Glick for Bard, Mayor Seaborn for Gillard, Alderman Toma for Gillard, Alderman McGee for Bard, Alderman Byrd for Gillard, Alderman Wilson for Bard.
So we're tied. Fight it out. What do we? I should have thought of this before I started this vote tonight.
All right, we're into sudden death.
Yeah.
So now we pull out the dodgeball.
All right. How do y'all want to go about this? Just keep voting again, see if anybody changes their mind.
I don't think you're going to say that. The nice thing about it is we have two excellent candidates.
We do. So we have two
it's a
excellent
hard
candidates.
thing to be sitting here and pass judgment. So I have no resolution to
Does
that.
anyone have any questions for either of the candidates?
I have a question for the city administrator or city attorney. Do we have a process for this
For breaking a
case?
tie? Yeah, that's a good question.
You just keep voting until somebody changes.
We don't have a coin flip process? We're only half joking. There are places that have a coin flip process.
I do have a suggestion. Is there a question that you would like to ask of both of them that they both could answer? Meaning, could the board come up with a question?
Or each one of us could, to that matter, just if, Mr. Toma looks like he has a question.
Well, I guess the question I would answer, again, both of them are very qualified. It's a hard decision to make. I guess Mr. Gillard, I played on the same airplanes that he did when he was growing up because I know exactly where they were. But I think the question I would have is, what do they feel is the most pressing issue at the airport, and what would you do to solve it?
I appreciate that. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Mr. Gillard, do you want to answer that first? So we'll go in different order this time.
What's your greatest strength and your greatest weakness?
I don't know how to solve it, but this seems like the most pressing is the city or other entities encapsulating the airport facilities and encroaching on all the land around the airport, which puts them and the pilots at risk in the long run because of if something were to happen, what if? But that seems to be the biggest thing that I've seen over the many years of playing on those airplanes and being stung and stuff. But
thank you, sir. Mr. Bard.
Thank you for the question, sir. To me, what I am right now looking at is has got my immediate attention is the flight school moving into Shelbyville from Murfreesboro. As you know, Murfreesboro has told the MTSU flight school that they have to leave. They're going to be going into Shelbyville. Now, as far as operations, the way that they normally operate, and we had them here for a little while, just temporarily while they're working on the Shelbyville airport, is they will take off and land in Shelbyville, but they will come here primarily to do their touch and goes and practice and stuff like that, as well as Winchester and other local airports. That's not anything that's necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that's probably going to have to be looked at by the board and evaluated, and some decisions are going to have to be made regarding that to continue to keep our airspace safe and our situation safe in Tullahoma.
Y'all ready to vote again?
I have one more question.
All right.
And
go ahead.
I should have asked it where they could ask. Not long ago, an issue came up where they were talking about potential of putting solar panels up on the airport property. And I would like to know what each of the gentlemen would feel about that.
Mr. Bard.
Well, sir, I've heard of that. I don't know where they put the solar panels. One of the very nice things about Tullahoma that adds to the safety is if someone was to take off from Tullahoma and have an engine failure, we have a nice big piece of flat ground where you can safely put an airplane down. If part of that's taken up with solar panels, I'm not sure if that would be in the interest of the Tullahoma Airport. There's a lot of places we can put solar panels in Tullahoma. So, I'd have to actually see the plans to make what my recommendation would be as a member of the board. But my initial feeling is that it could be a safety issue. Thank you. Oh, by the way, let me just say something else.
Go ahead.
I've known Tom for years. He is a good guy. And he's one of my students, actually. So, Tom's a good guy. Yes, sir.
I had not heard about the solar panels on the airport property either. I knew Montlow was talking about having some on their property, but yeah, that's part of the encroachment. You don't want things inside the airport fence, especially that somebody's liable to run into. But I hadn't heard that, so thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Let's try one more time, see what we get.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
Alderman Toma, Bard. Alderman McGee, Gillard. Mayor Sebring, Gillard. Alderman Glick, Bard. Alderman Wilson, Bard. Alderman Garza.
With two people saying their votes. Well, our other option here is we could wait one meeting and
do a duel or something like that.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Let's arm wrestle.
There's one thing you could do, Ms. Huskins and I have discussed this. You could vote to table this matter.
That was what I was about to suggest.
Hopefully the next meeting you'll have 7 people, so you won't.
7 or 5.
Yeah.
Call up Mathis.
Yeah. So would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Gentlemen, I apologize that we're at a deadlock here. All right. All in
Phone a
favor?
friend. Phone Mathis.
We'll just, are you going to record that? That's a unanimous. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully this next one will go better. All right. So our next item is a similar item. Request from the city administrator to appoint a qualified applicant to the Tullahoma Area Economic Development Corporation Board to fill an unexpired term ending July 26th. We've got 2 applicants for that one as well. We got 3. I'm sorry. Yes, 3. We had a previous member, Mr. Steve May, has resigned because he's moved out of town. He's going to go brew whiskey somewhere besides Tullahoma. But he was a great fit for our board in terms of the knowledge he brought in terms of kind of business development and in retail. So we have 3 applicants. So Mr. Kevin LeMay, are you here? Yeah, go ahead.
So, first of all, good evening. I'm Kevin LeMay, and I'm here tonight because I am interested in TAEDC. Some of you guys know me, many of you don't, so I'm going to take just a few minutes to describe my my professional background and then dive into why I want to join the TAEDC. So,
go ahead.
I started with my career in microcraft in the late 90s while I was still in high school. At the time, I was working as a janitor, but when I graduated, they offered me the opportunity to join the machinist apprenticeship program. And since my family didn't have the means to really send me to college, I greatly appreciated that opportunity. Sorry, I'm using note cards because it has been a while since I've been in front of a group.
It's okay.
And early in my career, I worked as a machinist specializing in manufacturing and assembling of the wind tunnel test models that are tested out at AEDC. Also built force and moment balances and various space and flight hardware. As the years went on, my roles and responsibilities increased. I ended up managing government security compliance as a facility security officer. I pursued new businesses as a marketing coordinator and led proposal efforts for government contracts as well as negotiate contracts as a contracts manager. I also served as chairman of the board, where I supported the facility acquisitions, capital investments, and set strategic goals. Currently, I'm at Schmid Corporation as a project engineer and estimator. The last 3 years at Schmid have helped me to broaden my experience further by providing cost estimations for complex aerospace hardware, managing high-precision aerospace projects, and interacting with large defense contractors on a daily basis. Now, none of that would have been possible without the opportunity to learn that skill trade, which is why I'm here today. I don't know if you picked up on this already or not, but just in case you haven't, I'm passionate about manufacturing careers and those benefits that come along with that. Over the last few years, many people have stood at this podium and conveyed concerns about hiring or about having homes and amenities available for their kids when they come back from college. I echo that, but I want to add to it so that we don't lose sight of those who have stayed here, those who have learned a skilled trade and built their lives around that trade. We have excellent trade schools in our region where people have learned skilled trades, and we need to attract and retain skilled workers with good paying jobs. You know, just a side note here, the largest employer of skilled workers in the region is AEDC, and even AEDC would benefit from having other companies in the area that could attract and retain skilled workers. Now, with all that said, I know that the primary focus on with TAEDC is businesses in the retail sector. That's because Tullahoma is limited on industrial space and infrastructure. But I believe that we can work with our neighboring communities to find pathways to bring companies to the Tullahoma area so that would encourage people to spend their money in Tullahoma. And with that being said, I would like to see Tullahoma build a diverse portfolio of businesses to balance growth and sustainability by working to attract some manufacturing companies to support our retail growth. This will help ensure that Tullahoma is not overly reliant on any one sector during any economic downturn. I mean, we all have seen what's happened lately. We see a lot of retailers, brick and mortar retailers, filing bankruptcy and shutting down. So I think that industrial base in the area, not necessarily in city Tullahoma, but in the area, in the region, would help support our local retailers, our small businesses, and continue through the economic downturn, should there be one. I believe that we need to create an environment where skilled trades thrive, small businesses can grow, and we attract diverse industries that provide stability and opportunity for all Tullahoma residents. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Joanne Reynolds.
I'm Joanna Reynolds from 107 Blue Ridge Avenue, and I love Tullahoma. I want to see her grow. I want her to be the best as people come in, as people visit, as people stay, like a wow experience. We do a lot of traveling, so I'm always picking up tips when I'm somewhere of, that's neat, I like that. We can be that. But as far as my background goes, I started at Sonic Drive-In when there was only one Sonic Drive-In, and I met a lot of you there. And then I went to Castaner, and so I had some time in retail and became Dillard's. Stayed with them there, and then in 01, I thought, well, if I'm doing their deposit, I might as well be banking. So I started banking in 01, started as a teller, and then a loan assistant, and now in home lending. So I see the shortage of rentals. I see the shortage of affordable homes. I see where we don't have enough workforce to even run some of our businesses, as far as, your dining rooms might be half open, half staffed. So I see that Tullahoma has amazing things to offer, and we can make them better. I do love what I do, and I love the people of this town. So I'd love to serve on your council and be a part of the economic development.
Thank you, ma'am. And then Ms. Carl Smith.
Hi, good evening. Carla Smith. I'm Carla Maddle Smith, 217 Woodson Drive, Tullahoma. Lifelong resident of the city of Tullahoma. My current position, before I start all this, is I am also the chairman of the airport authority, so I can answer some of your safety questions about the solar panels. But Winston came to our last TA meeting, and we were just discussing the business air park, and that's when I realized some of the connections and knowledge that I have within the aviation industry. I could use my talents to help bring more aviation-related industries to our airport, but not only to the airport, but to the city of Tullahoma as a whole. We definitely need manufacturing. We need more regional relationships with our airports. We also have maintenance. That's another area that we could really use some help with, is bringing in businesses for maintenance. Besides the aerospace and aviation background that I have, 15 years prior to that, I was a commercial real estate agent for Tullahoma. I was part of the team that brought in Publix and Chick-fil-A and some other folks like that. I was also part of the team that worked with Ashley Capps and AC Entertainment for Bonnaroo. So I was the real estate agent for the land acquisitions for Bonnaroo. So from aviation to commercial, and then I was also part of the hospital recruitment team. So the physicians that come to town, I would tour them to Tullahoma, sell them on Tullahoma to get them to come to work for Harton, and then from there, I was also the one that handled them from their real estate side to going and building their commercial building. So I did their home and their office building. So from the personal side, past president of the Chamber of Commerce, I was part of the CBAT team that went to Washington, D.C. on multiple occasions to try to spread and increase the mission of Arnold Air Force Base. So I'm also one of the founding members of the Ambassador Program, really dating myself. So I'm very, very excited about the opportunity to be on this board and really feel like the aviation relationships I have from across the country could potentially benefit the city of Tullahoma. Thank you.
Thank you. Another hard choice. 3 great candidates. Appreciate everyone putting in their name in the hat. All right, let's vote.
For Carla Smith, Alderman Byrd for Kevin LeMay, Alderman McGee for Kevin LeMay, Alderman Wilson for Kevin LeMay, Alderman Click, Kevin LeMay, and Mayor Seaborn for Reynolds.
So congratulations, Mr. LeMay. Appreciate that. So that was a little easier vote, I guess, with 3 candidates. And thank you, everyone who came, and I'll be reaching out to y'all who weren't appointed to help us with other things as it is. So, all right, that's the, oh wait, no, we've moved some items. Okay, so we have 2 items that we pulled from the consent agenda. So we'll be looking at item 3 under the consent agenda, approval of Pyro Shows Incorporated contract agreement in the amount of $28,875 for the fireworks show as part of the annual Independence Day celebration on July 3rd, and authorize mayor to execute the same. Do we have a motion? We have a motion from Alderman Byrd And a second from Alderman Wilson. Any discussion on this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the program is pretty self-explanatory, but Steve, did y'all look over this contract?
I did.
Okay. Did you notice?
Contract that we've had for several years.
You know, I understand. I guess my question is on these penalties almost, if, for example, we can't have a show, they all have restrictions in regards to minimum amounts. Whether you're there, do it the next day and there's no expense, we still get charged 10% for a purpose. If we're, again, another...
I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Steve. Let me speak to you this way. I don't know if this is, can you hear better through here?
Yes. If you look
Okay.
this way, I can.
Okay, I'll look this way.
All right.
In your section, thank you, your section 3 of your contract, there are various provisions in here in the event that the show can't be done that day, the day of it. And if you will note, there are percentages that we would have to pay whether they incur the cost or not. And I thought that was kind of an unusual provision. Is that something that you normally run into? I mean, of course, I understand more on the, if we do not provide it, it's 50% of their contract. But these other two, one's 10%, and then another one is 30%. And virtually the verbiage in there is the fact whether they have those expenditures or not. Are those negotiable, or are those just, it is what it is?
Any contract is negotiable, but if you want to do that, they will have incurred expenses because they will have purchased.
Oh, I understand that.
And a need for those sorts of things, and engage personnel for that sort of thing, and that maybe weather is something that causes them not to be able to have that. But if this board wants us to negotiate with these people, we certainly do.
I was just more concerned about the percentages as a windfall as opposed to understanding that the expenses they may incur.
I think Mr. Graham may have a comment about that.
So there's only one reason we wouldn't have the show, and that's lightning. But the company does not want to take the fireworks back. They will shoot the fireworks no matter what. They want to keep them on site as long as possible because they're transporting explosives, and they would do everything they can to shoot them off that night.
Just more of an observation. Not that I'm familiar with it, it's more the fact that it looked like we're going to be holding the bag for expenses that they may not incur.
And then they would also have to, everybody on the crew would have to probably stay in the area. They'd have a lot of expense in regards to if they had to postpone it. I mean, I get that. I also see what you're saying. That
Yeah, I'm certainly in agreement with that. It's just the fact that it just seemed unusual that they would say whether they incur the cost or not, we're responsible for paying for them. And I guess that's what I was catching on. I agree, yeah. I'm sure there's a cost in doing that, but it's a point. I don't know if it's worth spending a lot of time and legal expenses trying to change the contract. I'm just pointing that out.
To be frank, probably not. Contracts that companies such as this one have, that they use nationwide, and seldom we can be able to negotiate something like that.
Any other questions on this contract?
All right.
I was just thrilled to see it didn't increase by some of the seen amount like everything else has been lately. So. All right, if no other discussion, let's vote. All right, 6 yes.
Good deal.
Then the last item, approve Swanson Development LP annual lease agreement for the monthly amount of $2,475 and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Do we have a motion on that? We have a motion from Ms. Wilson, second from Mr. Quick.
This is, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Glick had a request.
Let's hear from Mr. Quick.
I'm sorry, I thought you said quick, so no, go ahead.
I may have, I don't know.
We've had that issue before.
I was coughing at the same time, so who knows what I said.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to bring up this item because it's for the rental of storage space for Parks and Rec equipment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, we started renting the storage space on a temporary basis probably 15 years
I was
ago.
gonna ask that question as well.
At least 15 years ago. And housing our maintenance department for Parks and Rec is not a temporary situation. And right now, the cost of this contract keeps going up every year, especially the last couple of years. It's really gone up. And I think it's up to about $30,000 a year, or somewhere close to that. And I just wonder how much we could finance building a facility, and pay for it in 15 years, 10 years, or however long we would finance something for. And then we own it, and we don't have to keep renting it. And we could build it at a more desirable location at one of our parks, or better yet, in my thoughts, I think it should be split up and built in 2 different parks. But I think as we're looking at things and as we're looking at projects that are definite needs, this is one that if we did build a facility, that it would eliminate a cost in the future instead of just incurring more costs. So I don't think we have much of a choice this year but to approve this item and vote on it and get that. But I think that we should plan on building a building, doing whatever it takes to getting something permanent for Parks and Rec to store their equipment. And it's more than just equipment storage. It's the whole workshop. It's the only thing in the city, in my mind, in my knowledge anyway, that is leased. A city operation runs out of there leased. So I think it would be much better for ownership, and I think we have the places in the parks to put it. So I think definitely let's move forward on this for this year, but hopefully by next year when this comes up again, we could have a plan of getting out of this.
Any other comments?
I do, and I would just like to echo what Alderman Glick said. Obviously what we're using this for is something that is permanent and would be all the time, and it really doesn't make any sense to continue to lease a property, and especially which, as Alderman Glick said, that it has increased every year, which, is pretty standard, but nonetheless, I agree, we need to look at building something permanent. And as Alderman Glick noted, obviously we wouldn't have to, or consider approving this now, but hopefully we can get something lined up to where we wouldn't have to continue doing this.
I would recommend that we ask either Parks or Recreation or Jason, why don't they come back to us with a proposed cost and a location? Surely there ought to be property available that we wouldn't have to buy property, but on the other side, we don't really know what we're talking about unless we get a figure to go, that makes sense.
Parks and Rec, do you have any?
So in last year's FY25 budget, we put a number of $600,000 in the locations at Wagner Park. We have had the drafting class at Tullahoma High School draw out the floor plan, and it's just basically a shop with an office. It's got to have the eye wash station, all the stuff that you would need to. We have paint, we have chemicals. These things don't need to freeze. Currently, the shop we lease does not have central heat and air. There's no eye wash station. They have to transport the stuff to Grider, where there is one, in case something happens. There are some certain safety aspects that we need in the building. We've talked about leasing another building. You run into those same issues, having exactly the chemical mixing area for the turf needs, having the central heat and air for paint room or chemical room. A lot of the buildings just don't have what we're looking for.
Would you suggest that that be included in your budget request?
It will definitely be in my capital improvement list for this year.
Okay.
Any other, yeah, go, sorry, Ms. McGee.
Is there any extra room maybe at Public Works that could house this with the things that you need, or should those two things be kept separate?
You'd have to ask Butch.
Butch, that's what
I don't know.
Public Works.
Okay.
The only other comment I have, and again, I guess this is something dangerous, is that for 48 years, I looked at contracts a lot for my clients. And again, I'm sure this is a standard contract, but there's several provisions in here. This is almost like a triple net lease. I don't know what storm surge charge would involve, but they're stating that the city is responsible for any damage to the building, I guess, from what a storm surge. All the waivers of subrogations and indemnifications are one-sided toward, obviously, you understand from your standpoint, you're taking care of your client. But I think things like that in any of our contracts that we deal with, we need to be looking in more detail as to what bag we're holding. Subrogations, this one-sided subrogation, it ought to be mutual. That's not a big deal.
So what I would tell you is this contract looks a lot better than it started out, and I have had Brittany Hoskins work directly with the company on that, and I'd like for her to speak on the contract, if you would.
Yes, I would say Mr. Quick is putting that lightly. The original contract, it had us waiving our right to sue for negligence altogether. So I think Mr. Glick is right. We're almost in a position right now where we don't, I hate to say we don't have a choice, but this is housing all of the equipment right now. We don't have another facility to do that right now. JP and I had already spoken about the potential to look elsewhere and what we can do different, because I think this company's well aware of our situation, and I think, the cost just keeps going up. And this is a totally new contract from what I understand than we've ever received from this company, and it certainly was very, very one-sided. As one-sided as it looks now, it's a lot better than it first looked. So, and there was a lot of negotiation, and finally they said, this is it. Take it or leave it.
I'm assuming these guys must rent a lot of.
Yeah, if I could speak to that, we rented from Don Jackson, just a business owner at first when the temporary arrangement you spoke of. They sold it to another business owner. When it was someone in Tullahoma, it was a very small, easy to read contract. Swanson Developments, they purchase land everywhere in Middle Tennessee. It's a 2-acre parcel. They immediately staked out another building, which is in our laydown yard. I think they're ultimately going to build a second building and kick us out anyway.
Are we the single occupant in it?
We are not. The front half of the building is Legal Aid Society.
Mr. Wood, I think you requested to speak.
Yeah, let's, I would like to get some kind of commitment tonight as we vote on this, as we move forward, because I know this has been kicked down the road for a lot of years. Like I said, when we moved into that 15 years ago, it was supposed to be just a temporary situation when, I guess it was 15 years ago, or was it more, JP, do you remember? So, I think if we keep kicking it down the road, it's never going to think. So I'd like to make a motion for staff to...
So we have a motion on the table, so you'll have to either make an amendment or we'll have to finish the vote on this one.
Amended motion, is it called? Like an amend the motion?
Yeah.
Amend the motion to contain lease the building, but direct staff to bring us back with a budget, a proposal to build a permanent facility for Parks and Rec, so we can get out of this one-sided agreement and eventually not have to pay rent.
Okay.
And that's what my comment was really concerning is, is it would be interesting to see, this may be you, Ms. Wilson, that could get together even if we had to take out a loan to purchase something, or ways that we could go about financing or making this happen. And it seems like that if we're socking away $30K a year on a lease, that would go toward paying a loan, which, and then if we built something, I'm usually a proponent of that rather than to find another building to renovate, because it's just, it's really difficult to retrofit a building to what, especially for something like that, what your needs are. So
Before we continue, can we get a second on Mr. Glick's motion? Okay, so, Matthew did it, okay. I thought he was reaching to speak.
And let me clarify that we're not voting on actually doing it, we're voting on they need to bring us
a proposal. Mr. Byrd.
Yeah, that was all I wanted to say, is that this would be to bring forward a proposal, not to promise money for a project.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
I just was afraid that if we didn't do something,
yeah. All right, any other discussion on the amendment? Let's vote on the amendment then. The amendment carries 6-0, and now if there's no other discussion, we need to vote on the main motion. All right, motion carries 6-0, and I believe that concludes.
May I just make a comment? I fully understand as far as 15 years and kicking down the road. The administration, we brought to you the city feasibility study, and I would hope that at some point we can have some discussion, an agenda item or something to figure out what do we want to do with that, because that's something we've been dealing with for I think 26 years since the first mention of a feasibility study was held by Mayor Bisbee and his team. But I would also like to see if we could look at that as well at some point.
I think we need to have more study session on that, but I agree we can get it on the agenda at some point.
Be part of the budget process.
Could be.
So, yeah, if it makes it through.
Yeah. So let's adjourn our regular meeting and call the Beer Board meeting to order. I didn't miss anything, did I? We finished everything. Okay. So we'll call the Beer Board meeting to order. Any public comments for the Beer Board meeting? I don't think anybody signed up for any. No unfinished business. So we have one new business.
If I may.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Catherine Wiseman. I'm with the Tullahoma Area Chamber of Commerce. My address is 208 Meadowbrook Street, Tullahoma, Tennessee. And I just wanted to take this opportunity before we speak about the beer permit to formally invite all of you to the Taste of Tullahoma event that will take place on Monday, March 31st from 4 to 7 at the Tennessee National Guard Armory. So we hope that you'll come and you'll bring your families and friends. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thanks.
So as mentioned in the comment, our item is a request to approve a beer application and waive fees for the Tullahoma Area Chamber of Commerce, care of Ms. Hope Seaborn Nunley, for the Taste of Tullahoma Business Expo Monday, March 31st, 2025, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Tennessee National Guard Armory, 1402 East Carroll Street, Tullahoma. Ms. Hope Sarton Nunley will be in charge of beer sales. Do we have a motion and a second for that? Yes, we do. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the board. We have a motion for Mr. Byrd, second for Ms. McGee. Is there any discussion on that? If not, let's vote. The motion carries 6-0, and we are adjourned.